In today's tutorial, let's do the Cabin in the Woods Afghan. This has been recolored for today's trends, again by Caron Simply Soft Yarn. Let's begin to do this right after this. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to do the Cabin in the Woods Afghan. Now this one here that's right in front was the original Afghan, and it has been recolored for today's trends, which is the one that is on the left. So what we're going to be doing today, both of these particular samples are the exact same pattern. They both come with a crochet diagram on the back, which I'm going to walk you through, and this tutorial today is going to cover both of these particular Afghans because they're the same pattern. Let's begin to look at the diagram next. The diagram that has been provided to you actually provides you a beautiful roadmap on what you would like to do. You're also going to notice that there's color transitioning going on inside this Afghan today, and you're going to notice that it's not necessarily the same increments of space. So for example, you'll see that there's blue and then it will go a little bit for a brown and then it will transition back to blue and then a large layer of white. So it really has a color palette that you would like to follow along. If you can find that information here in this pattern. You will see with the original it was kind of the same way, where the stripes were not always the same width, and because of that and the texture of this particular Afghan, it does a really neat look. So what we have to do is that we have to get beyond the setup row, which is the first row here, and then it's a repeat of going from rows number 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 in order to do all of this, and then it repeats all over once again. So it's a really unique look. So I like to write on my patterns to help me to be able to figure things out. So if you would like to do this Afghan in a different size, you have to keep them in multiples of 32, and then at the end of your chain you just add 2. So you chain 32. Are you happy with the length or not? So 1 chevron equals 32. So you have 2 chevrons here, so that means that there's 64 stitches in order to do it like you see here on the screen. But of course the pattern is asking you to do a chaining of 258, and you're thinking, wow, that's a big chain. But because the Afghan has a really big chevron, what happens is that if you were to stretch this chain out flat, this would be a lot longer, but because it's going in the up and down motion, it has to be a lot longer in order to compensate for that. So what you have to do is you have to chain in multiples of 32. So then you're satisfied with the length, not yes or no. If not, add another 32, and if you're not satisfied, add another 32. And if you're gonna do it that way, just make sure at the very end of your chain when you're satisfied, you have to add 2 extra chains. So you can see that each one of these chevrons, each side was made up of 16 stitches, which gives you your 32. Also what I like to do on my patterns is that I like to write key elements to what to look for. So for example, there was 5, and I wrote the number 5 of double crochets that stand by themselves here when we have the gapping spaces, and then what I had here with double crochet, there's 10 double crochets that stand by themselves. There's 5 puff stitches and 10 double crochets, and even in the single, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. I was gonna assume it's 10, and the reason why I was gonna assume it's 10 is because the other double crochets were 10. So it just makes a lot of sense to me because I'm used to doing these kind of patterns. I did a sample of this. I'd like to show you that now and just see what you think of it. So here's my sample here, and you are going to notice we're gonna start off with a very solid row. Then we're gonna go to like a really open space, and then going to solid we're gonna do some single crochets like it shows in the pattern, and then we're gonna do double crochets, and then we're gonna do puff stitches, and then we're gonna be back to solid, and then we're gonna repeat all over. So you see that this open space is the same as this open space, so it's the same rows just repeating. The only difference is that you can change color as often or as little as that you wish, and that it makes a lot of sense. So today's pattern, you're going to need a 5mm size H crochet hook today. It does ask for Caron Simply Soft yarn. You can use this pattern and substitute your yarn if you wish. If you have another brand of Yarnspirations yarns like Caron or Bernat or Peyton's yarns, or even Lily Sugar and Cream, if you would like to use any of those brands, just make sure that the hook complements the yarn, and this will work each and every time. So let's begin. Let's test your skills. So today I am using Caron Simply Soft. The color that you see on screen is called Strawberry. Got my 5mm crochet hook ready, and I'm ready to rock this puppy. So I'm going to do in multiples of 32 because I'm not going to do a full-size example, but if you would like to follow the pattern as written, you have to chain 258 in order to do this. So I'm gonna go in multiples of 32. So I'm gonna do the first 32 with you on camera here. So just remember that the first slip knot never counts as one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. So now that I've done that, this is what one chevron looks like, but you're thinking to yourself, wow, that's really long. But remember, it's going to be in an up and down motion, so it's not going to be as wide as it appears. So you have to decide whether it's big enough, yes or no, and if not, you want to carry on if you're doing it in multiples of 32. So do as many multiples of 32. I'm going to do one more set of 32, and then I'm going to add 2 at the end of the chain in order to stay in balance. So let me do my 32 first, and then I'll meet you back here in just a moment. So off camera just a few seconds ago, I left you and I did another multiple of 32. Once you're satisfied with the length of the chain and you're happy with that, add 2, 1 and 2, and that'll bring this whole pattern back in balance. So I got two chevrons now in my little sample, and let's continue to do the setup row, and let's begin to do that next. We're gonna start by going to the 4th chain from the hook. So just count back right underneath the first one. So 1, 2, 3, and go to the 4th. Turn the chain over, get the back hump only, and do a double crochet. So for the next 12 chains, what we want to do is 1 single crochet in each. We're gonna go in a downward motion like it shows exactly in the diagram. So let's count that out together. So we got 1, and I'm gonna go a little bit slower than normal because it's chain of course and it takes longer. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's 10, 11, and 12. So I got my 12 by themselves. So let's just position this like it is in the diagram, so it's in the downward motion. So in the downward motion we're going to then go and skip some stitches in order to create that point at the bottom. So now we're gonna skip over some stitches. We're actually gonna skip over 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go to the 5th, and I want you to double crochet. Just like that. So now what I want you to do is that we need to chain up, or sorry, we need to double crochet for the next 12 in a row. So let's continue to do that. So we're going in the upward motion. You're not really noticing it yet. You will soon though. So it's 1, we're gonna do 12. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna be at the top of this one. So the next one is gonna be 1 double crochet by itself into that one, followed by a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, go to the next chain and double crochet. So now we're gonna go in the downward motion then on the other side of the chevron. So let me pull it up. So we've got one completely done. You see that? And now we're gonna go in the downward motion once again. Let me review that with you. So now we're gonna go in the downward motion, and the next 12 will be 1 double crochet by itself. So let's do that. I'm trying to keep this as easy in the counts as possible. So that it's gonna be a total of 12. So this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, and 12. But we're not quite done yet. So this is in the downward motion, as you can see, and now we're gonna add one more, and this is gonna be the middle. So we're gonna add one more to the next one, and then we're gonna skip 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and go to the fifth one over. So this is the base of the next one, and now for the next 12 you're gonna go up. So you're gonna go up and down in the same motion, going up and down, and then once you get to the end, this is how we're gonna finish. So we're gonna go 12 up on this side. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So you got your 12 going up, and then you got one stitch left over, and that'll be the next one is just one by itself. So that's your 13th there technically. I'm trying to keep everything just as easy as possible. So this is your setup row. You're gonna go up and down in the motion. You can see that it's now ready, and now let's begin to do rows number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is the repeat pattern. Let's move along to row number 1. So let's turn our work. So I want to direct your attention to something in the pattern. So you will notice in the pattern, and let me pull the pattern up and show you. So let's move along to row number 1. So you're gonna notice row number 1, 3, 4, and 5. Do you notice that there's 2 double crochets into the first one? So this chaining of 3 counts as a double crochet. So in the first 2 stitches there's always going to be 2 double crochets into each, no matter which one it is. The only one that you're not gonna have that is row number 2, which is has the single crochet. So do you see this? So if you can remember that, it makes it a lot easier to remember to start, because it really matters on being able to keep yourself in balance. Now where it gets a little more complex is right here, but what you have to watch for is that when you get to this, for example, you notice you're gonna skip the last double crochet here, and in this one here you're gonna skip one of the single crochets, the last one before the chain 3. The next one is skipping the last one before the chain 3, and if you can remember that you gotta skip over that, it makes it a lot easier to be able to manage. So just like you have 2 on the outside edge, 2 double crochets on the outside edge, you actually physically have 2 here. There's 1 inside the chain 3, and then there's 1 right here. We just got to remember to skip that one that's right before the chain 3 whenever you have that in here, and hopefully that makes a lot of sense for you here on the top layers. And in the bottom, all we just need to do is we need to skip a number of stitches in order to make all that work. So let's begin. So let's begin row number 1. We're gonna chain up 3, which counts as a double crochet, and in the exact same stitch right under it you're going to put in another double crochet so that there's 2 into that first one, and in the next stitch there's gonna be 2 double crochets into that one as well. So now we're gonna chain 1, and we're gonna create the gapping spaces that you've seen in the tutorial as well, so in my sample as well as the pattern. So you're gonna chain 1, and you're gonna skip 1 stitch and double crochet into the next, and you're gonna create these gapping spaces. So then you're gonna chain 1, and then you're gonna skip 1 and double crochet into the next. And you're gonna notice that you're looking for 5 of these that stand by themselves. So there's 1 and 2, so chain 1, skip the next one, and double crochet in the next. So chain 1, skip the next one, double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip the next one, double crochet in the next. So I'm looking for 5 of these to stand by themselves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Standing by themselves, I mean, what I mean by that is just like it's not in conjunction with anything. So now that I have my 5 here, I'm ready then to skip the number of stitches. So I'm gonna skip a total of 4 stitches in a row, and if you look at it really carefully, it's the 2 on either side of the center point. So I'm immediately gonna jump to the 5th chain stitch, and I'm gonna double crochet and I'm gonna go back up the other side. So that creates that bottom, and you're gonna chain 1, skip 1 and double crochet in the next, so that I have 5 that stand alone in the upward motion this time. Okay, so chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next, chain 1, double crochet in the next, and I'm looking for the 5 to sit by themselves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm satisfied with that, so I'm gonna chain 1, skip 1, and I'm gonna double crochet 2 times into this one. Okay, I talked about that. So there's your 2. You're gonna skip the very last one, and the next 2 are right into the chain 3 space. So that's just like it's an edge, but this time it's in the top of a chevron. See that? So it's just like it's an edge where you have 2 on this side. There's gonna be 2 here. We just gotta make sure we skip over that one that's right in the middle. Now we are going to chain 3. So the wonderful thing about this, no matter what layers you're on your top of a chevron, there's always gonna be a chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then double crochet 2 times back into that same chain 3 space for the other side. And let's work our way down the other side of this. So we're gonna skip the first one, and we're gonna go immediately to the second one and put 2 double crochets in there. So that satisfies that need to have the 2 working together. Then, like we have all the chain 1 spaces and these that are staying by themselves, we're gonna chain 1, skip 1 and double crochet in the next, and we need a total of 5 that stand alone like that on this side. I think I grabbed more than I should have this time. There we go. Chain 1 and skip 1, and I want the 5 to stand by themselves. So chain 1, skip 1, chain 1, skip 1. Okay, so I can see there's 1, 2, 3 and 4 standing by itself. So I need another one. So chain 1, skip 1, and I'm at the base of another chevron. So I can see the next 2 are right before the end, or the center point. There's the next 2 on the other side, so I want to immediately just jump over to the 5th one over and double crochet over there to then start working up the other side. So chain 1, skip 1 and double crochet in the next, and I need that. So you're gonna go up and down in that same motion all the way across, and then you're gonna come to the very end like I am, and you're just gonna work your way up just like it's a normal going up, but it's just gonna change slowly at the top. So just continuing to skip 1, chain 1 and double crochet to get your 5 that stand alone. I got 1 more to go. Okay, and what we're gonna have then right at the end, so we chain 1 and skip 1, and the final 2 stitches, so there's the one there, the final 2 stitches are gonna each be 2 double crochets each. So there's 1, and the other one is in the turning chain. So go into the chain, do not go into a gap space, because then it will be really quite opened up for you. So there is your 2 double crochets together, or sorry, 2 double crochets into the same. There's 2 of them, just like it was on the other side, and just like it shows in the top of these that you had them working together as well. So on the ends we don't have to skip over one like we did at the top of a chevron, just like this. So that's one thing that you just got to keep an eye out for. So that concludes row number 1, and you'll have to repeat this whenever you have to do row number 1. Let's turn our work and go for row number 2. In row number 2 we're gonna chain up 1, and we're gonna single crochet into the first stitch, and then we're gonna do that 2 times. Okay, so it's like we're putting 2 double crochets into the same stitch. This time it's 2 single crochets. So then we immediately move then to the next stitch that's available to you, and you're gonna put in 2 single crochets into that one. So you're gonna move all the way down 1 stitch into each as you're going all the way, but what you have to do is that you see that you got the 5 that stand alone, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. You want to come to the second one, and that's where you're gonna stop putting in single crochets. So when you do single crochets, you're not only gonna go into a stitch, but you're also gonna go into a gap spacing in between, and you need a total of 10. So let's begin to do that. So let's move down. So I'm gonna count these out. So 1, the next one's in a stitch. For 2, next one's in a space. For 3, so go right in the space for 3. Next one's in a stitch for 4. Space is for 5. Stitch is for 6. Space is for 7. Stitch is for 8. Space is for 9. And then the last one is a stitch for 10. And if you look at it just like I promised you, it's the 1 It's the second one in. You are now gonna immediately just jump over to the second one on this side. So look at the middle spot, skip over these middle ones and go right over to where I'm pinching here, and you're gonna single crochet yourself up 10 in a row on this side. So just completely go over there. So 1, and then the next one's in a space, 2 stitches for 3, spaces for 4, stitches for 5, spaces for 6 and 7, 8, 9 and 10. Okay, so then that takes you to having 2 stitches left over. So what you have to do here is the next one, there's gonna be 2 single crochets into there. You're going to skip the last one and then immediately jump into this top of the V, okay, and the top of the chevron, and there's gonna be 2 single crochets there. So 1 and 2, and then you follow it by a chain 3 because you're at the top. So 1, 2 and 3. Come back down into that same space for another 2 more single crochets. So let's work down the other side. So we're gonna skip the first one and go to the second over, and there's gonna be 2 single crochets there. So it's very much like it was as if it was double crochet. We skipped the last one and we put 2 in right before that, and with 2 in after in this space is same thing with the single crochet. So now we're gonna move down the line and we're gonna just put in 10. So just 1 and 2, and the spaces for 3, stitch for 4, space 6 or 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. And this should have taken you, if I pull my hands back, it should take you to the second one in, okay, which it does right here. So just look at there. We're gonna skip all the way to the second one on this side and just immediately go into that, and we're gonna do 10 going up the other side. So you're gonna go that motion all the way across using your single crochet. So it makes it a nice thin layer, and with different colors it makes it really amazing. So we got the first one in, so let's do 10 going up. So this is number 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, just like this. Okay, and now what we want to do in the final 2 stitches here, you only have 2 stitches left. There's just gonna be 2 single crochets. So this end is not like the top of the chevron where we skipped over a stitch as we went over the top. On the edges, the last 2 stitches are always 2 single crochets each. So you just got to remember that the edge is slightly different from a chevron that is right in the middle, right where I'm pinching here. So that was row number 2. Let's turn our work and go for row number 3, and this is again part of the repeat pattern. So let's turn our work and go for row number 3. Row number 3 and 5 are basically identical. In order to keep the pattern going consistently though, it shows to do that 3 and 5 in order to have the design that you want. So let's begin. We're gonna chain up 3. So 1, 2, 3, that counts as a double crochet, and we're gonna double crochet into the same stitch right underneath it. Okay, the same one, and then the next one is gonna be 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So there's your satisfying of the edges for the first 2 being 2 double crochets into each. So now we're gonna just go down here and we're gonna double crochet 10 times as we make our way down. So let's count those out. So 1, and just keep moving along. 2, this one's an easy one. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. But I want to show you where I've stopped here. So that was 10, and you're going to notice that you look below, you see how there was right at the center point, you see it's actually the 3rd one over. Not that it matters if you're counting, but it's just a good to have that visual aid as a double check. So you can just immediately, if this one's the 3rd one over, you can actually just literally go to the 3rd one on this side and actually be accurate, because you have to count miss 4 anyway. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So right where I was holding anyway is the next one's going up. So you're going to do 10 going in the other direction and the up direction. So that was 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So you're going to notice to yourself, okay, you still got some stitches left, Mikey, that you know it's not at the right area, and in fact it is. So the next stitch that's here, there's 2 single crochets that are sitting here. The next one is going to be 2 double crochets into the same one. You have 1 more single crochet left before the chain 3. We're gonna skip that one and go right for the chain 3, and there's gonna be 2 double crochets into there, and then we chain 3 on this layer. So 1, 2, 3, and we work our way down the other side. So we're gonna put in 2 double crochets into the same space. So 1 and 2. We skip the first single crochet and then put 2 double crochets into the next one after that. Okay, so we're satisfying the need, and now we're gonna move down and we're gonna put 10 double crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And a visual check. Let's do a visual check to see if you got it. So you're looking to where the center is, and it's the third one. It's the third one that's standing alone. It's right above it. That means I'm right. And now you're gonna skip 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and look at that. It's the third one on the other side. That's where we're gonna go next. It's great to have these visual checks. So we're doing 10 up on the other side, so that was one of them. So 2, oops, this is 3, 4. So you're gonna go in the up and down motion, but now as you come to the end you just want to go all the way across the top. You're not gonna do any skipping like you did on the top of the chevron like we did back over here. So you're only gonna do that skipping of the last one to do this whenever you're in the top of a chevron. So as we make our way across, the final 2 stitches in the end should be 2 double crochets into there. So this should have been my number 10th if I'm just looking at it visually. So let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 2 stitches left, and the final 2 are going to be 2 double crochets each. So it's good to have the visual check, and sometimes you don't need to count. You just got to look for the visible cues to know exactly where you're gonna go. So 2 double crochets in the final 2. And that concludes off row number 3. So we still have rows 4 and 5 to do, and let's turn our work and do row number 5. Or sorry, row number 4. So let's do row number 4. So we're gonna start off by chaining a 3, which counts as a double crochet, and we're gonna double crochet into the first same stitch. And we're gonna double crochet 2 times into the next stitch. So this is exactly what I was talking about in the end. They're always gonna start the same. So here's where the game plan is going to change. We're gonna change chain 1, skip 1, and we're gonna do a puff stitch into that second one over. How we do a puff is we wrap the hook going in, pull the yarn through, and hold it. And we want to do that a total of 3 times. So wrap the yarn going into the same stitch, pull through, and hold it. Do it again, wrapping the yarn going in, pull through, and hold it. And you're gonna have a lot of yarn on your hook. So all you're just gonna do is once you did that 3 times, you're gonna pull through everything. It is key not to be too tight in this particular area, and once you've got that through, you lock it by just chaining 1, and then you have to then chain 1 in the pattern. Okay, so you lock that puff by chaining 1 and then chain 1. So we're gonna have a total of 5 puffs in a row. So we skip the next stitch and we're doing a puff in the next. So wrapping the hook going into the next one that we needed to, and we do that a total of 3 times. Again, do not be tense with this. These puffs can be a pain if you're tight. So wrap the hook now that it did 3 times and pull through everything, and then chain 1 to lock it, and then chain 1 as per the pattern. So then skip 1 and puff into the next. So I'm gonna just speed up a little bit. I can really rock these puppies out if I have to. And once I get all three, pull it through, chain 1 to lock it, and then chain 1 as per the pattern. So I need a total of 5 of these puff stitches in a row. So skip the next one and puff into the next. These provide a beautiful finishing look, by the way. It is worth doing them, so just take your time. Chain 1 to lock it, and then chain 1 as per this pattern, and then skip the next one and puff. This will be the last puff going down. There's only 5 in a row. Okay, chain 1 to lock it, and chain, and this is the last puff, so I'm not going to chain 1 after this, and I'm going to skip over 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm just going to immediately come over here and start puffing on the other side. Okay, so come to the 5th one over and puff, going back in the up direction. I got some extra plies in that one. I'll try it again. So I want to go in and out 3 times, pull through everything, chain 1 to lock it, and then chain 1 as per the pattern, skip 1 and puff into the next, and I want to get a total of 5 puffs going in this direction, going in the up direction. Pull through everything to lock it, or chain 1 to lock it, and then chain 1 as per the pattern. So skip 1, puff into the next. Okay, pull through everything. Whoops, I dropped my stitch. Does happen. If any place you're gonna drop stitches is doing puffs. Okay, pull through everything, chain 1 to lock it, chain 1 as per the pattern. I'm looking for my visual cue of 5 in a row. So just skip the next stitch, go to the second one over, puff into the next. Chain 1 to lock it, chain 1 as per the pattern. Okay, skip the next one. Okay, pull through everything, chain 1 to lock, chain 1 to chain 1 as per the pattern. So I have my 5 now going up in this side, so I did a chain 1 after this one, and now I want to come into the next stitch. So I want to skip 1, come into the next one, which is the one right before the final, and there's gonna be 2 double crochets there. So it's just like it was a regular double crochet line. You're going to skip the next stitch and come right to the chain 3, and you're gonna put in 2 more double crochets there. Then because you're at the top, you're gonna chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 double crochets back into that same space. Okay, and immediately just skip over the next one and 2 double crochets into the second one over, and we're gonna start puffing in the downward motion. Okay, so there is what it looks like so far. So let's go in the next one. So we're gonna chain 1, skip 1, and puff into the next, and we want to get a total of 5 puffs obviously coming down. It's all the same across the board. And chain 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. So you gotta make sure you're skipping over those stitches. Chain 1 to lock it, chain 1 as per the pattern. You know, I have my own memory hooks on how I say things in order for my own memory to jog. You know, whatever works for you is what works for you. There's really nobody ever learns the same way. It's what makes tutorial hosting so difficult, because everybody learns differently and people need to know other things that I take for granted, and etc. So it's a really kind of an interesting line of work, if you ask me. It's hard to please everybody, and certainly everybody has an opinion. So chain 1 to lock it. Now I have my 5 going in. I'm not gonna chain 1 as per the pattern because I'm not gonna chain 1 now. I'm just gonna skip over the next 4 because it's right in the middle, and I want to puff right into the 5th one over. So I'm gonna work my way up. Okay, pull through to lock it, chain 1 as per the pattern, skip the next one and puff into the next. So and now you're gonna go all the way up and down in this motion, and you are gonna get yourself all the way to the other side just like I am now, and this is what the final edge will look like. So you'll have 5 puffs going in the upper on the side edge as well. Okay, chain 1, puff into the next. I did a pattern where you didn't pull through all of the strings, you only pulled through a portion of the strings, and I'm kind of just see right now it said in the pattern, the other one, not to pull through everything, it said to stop and then chain one. So it's kind of, I've kind of got it in my head a little bit that I'm not trying to do it wrong, but I can be. It's the thing about patterns, every designer has their own way, but again, whatever works for you, hey, that's the secret, right? So I have my 5 puffs going in the other direction, so I'm gonna chain one, and you got 3 stitches left. We're gonna skip one, and the next stitch is gonna be 2 double crochet, and then the final stitch is going to be 2 double crochet. So now we've just completed off row number 4. So you can see it has a very different look, and that's what makes this afghan really quite amazing. We're gonna turn our work and go for row number 5, which is the same as row number 3. Let's begin to do that next. So let's turn our work and go for row number 5. This is the final of the repeat pattern, and then you're gonna go back to row number 1 again, and you can see that the up and down motion is actually quite amazing. It's really quite steep in this. It's not a lazy one at all, like a lazy wave. It's not just rolling, it's actually really up and down. So let's begin our first one. We're gonna chain up 3. That counts as a double crochet, and double crochet into the exact same stitch right underneath, and double crochet 2 times in the next stitch. So this time as we work our way down, we're gonna just play within the spaces and within the puffs. You gotta keep your count. So there's gotta be 10 double crochets working its way down, and once you have your 10, you're gonna jump over. But here's the cue. The cue is on this one here. The 10th one should appear on the second puff from the bottom edge, and then your next one coming up will be the second puff. But let's see if we're right. So we're gonna do 10 double crochets working our way down. So where there's a gap, fill it in, and where there's a puff, fill that one in. So that was 2. This is a gap for 3, puff for 4. See where I'm going in the puff? I'll show you again. The next one is for 5. The next one is a puff. So just see how it's coming together. See, it kind of opens up the stitch. And I want to just take a recount because I've lost count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, 7 is in the gap. 8 is in the puff. 9 is in a gap. And then 10th is in the final puff. So this should be the second puff in when I move my hands back, and it is. So see, it's the second one from the center. So we're immediately just gonna skip to the next puff on the other side. So just look at it visually. Okay, and just skip right over and just do this puff, and you're gonna do 10 going up in the other direction. So that was 1 of 10. This is 2, 3, this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So there's your 10 in a row. So you have 2 stitches left in the upward part. So the next one is gonna be 2 double crochets into the same one, and it's like it was the other double crochet line. Skip the next one here and go right to the chain 3 space for 2 double crochets. So there's no difference there. And then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then coming back into the same chain 3 space for 2 more. So let's go in the downward motion. So we're gonna skip over the first one and double crochet 2 times into the second one over, and then we're gonna work our way down, going down 10. So 1, 2, it's like the same thing, just fill in the spaces when it is. This is 3 in the space, 4 is in a puff, 5 is a space, 6 is a puff, 7 is a space, 8 is a puff, 9 is a space, and 10 is a puff. And when I pull my hands away, there should only be 1 puff left before the corner, and it is. So I'm on the second one in. Immediately just go over to the second one over here. So look for the center point, go to the second one, and that is your first double crochet going in the upward motion. So that's 1 of 10 going in the space for 2. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And if you've done your stitches right, there's only 2 stitches left. Okay, so there's the 1 stitch and the turning chain. Those are going to be 2 double crochets each. So 1 and 2. So you don't skip over like you would if it was the top of the chevron when it's a side like this. So this concludes off row number 5, and you're just gonna restart back again. You can reverse this video and go right back to this row here, which is row number 1 with the spacing. Because this is the double crochet, this acts like the other double crochet row, and so everything just kind of puzzles together. And you can find the different color schemes that are available in the pattern if you would like to try it, and of course just use your techniques of hiding in yarn in order to do so, and there's other tutorials available on how to do that as well. So without further ado, this is a great little pattern. I actually enjoyed it. I like the texture to it. It has a really unique look to it as well, and I think with the right color mixes you can really rock this out. So until next time, this is the Cabin in the Woods Afghan on behalf of Yarnspirations as well as the Crochet Crowd. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.